Republican presidential candidate, Texas Congressman Ron Paul, joins me now from New Hampshire, where he is campaigning. Congressman Paul, welcome. Good to have you here today.
Thank you, Martha. Good to be with you.
You know, we take a look at the markets, just opened up, down about 100 points as we speak. We saw what happened yesterday. What do you think a president should do in this moment?
Well, at this moment, you can't do things in one moment, but a plan or a program has to be to redirect the economy. We have to get rid of the conditions that created our monster of this recession that is ongoing. And that means you have to address regulatory policy, monetary policy, tax policy, deficits problems, and also to get back to normal, you have to liquidate debt. If an individual or a company or a country gets in debt over their head, they never get growth again until they deal with the debt, because the debt consumes a nation. Our productivity is down, but we have to worry about the debt. And just paying off the debt means the only way we can do that is just creation of new money. And this creates so many more new problems, and that's what we're facing today.
Understood. And obviously you have a very different philosophy about how to tackle the economy, and you've been presenting that in a very complete way over the course of this campaign. But I guess what I meant when I said this moment, you know, there's a lot of talk about the president being on vacation, and should he come back? Should he make some kind of statement? So as president, you know, there are moments when the country gets unnerved. Do you believe that this is one of them? If you were in his shoes right now and you had already been implementing your own policies and there was, you know, a similar kind of time in the markets, do you think that a president should stand up and reassure the American people, come back from vacation, whatever the case may be?
Well, the most important thing is the president tell them the truth. If we're in trouble and we have to change policies radically, like I've just mentioned what we should do, you have to come clean. You have to tell them that this is a debt problem, when this is what we have to do. We have to change foreign policy, monetary policy, and all these things. So telling the truth is the first step. If people know you're telling the truth and that you're going to reform it and have new policy, this is the only way you can start to reassure people and get their confidence back. But if you keep fibbing around and saying, oh, all we need to do is have another QE2 and QE3, and all we have to do is print more money and bail out and have another stimulus program, people don't believe that anymore. So I would say somebody standing up in a leadership position telling the American people the truth would be the best thing to get things turned around.
All right, let's take, you're in New Hampshire right now campaigning. Let's take a look at how this poll shows things stacking up in New Hampshire. And you've had a very focused approach this time around, slightly different than last time, focusing on Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada in the early going. And you got Mitt Romney at 36% in New Hampshire, Rick Perry at 18%, you're at 14%, Michelle Bachmann at 10%. What do you think is working, you know, differently for you this time around in the campaign? How are you tackling New Hampshire?
Well, because the more people are listening to the message that I've been delivering for many, many years and warning people about, and there's a dramatic change in our economy, and there's a dramatic change in the attitude of the American people. They're much more frightened, and they know that the same old answers aren't worth very much, and that's why they're listening to me on foreign policy, a good place to start with cutting massively the spending, and also looking at the monetary system. Those messages now are resonating with the American people, and that's why our campaign is growing. It's easier to raise money, more people are turning out, but it's, in a way, the events are driving this. They realize, even the people on the receiving end of the welfare system, whether it's the military-industrial complex or the poor, they know that we're broke. They know there's no money in the bank, and everybody's concerned. So they're very interested in another approach. And when I give an approach dealing with freedom and individual liberty and the Constitution and sound money, all of a sudden say, boy, that sounds good, and they're coming in droves to our campaign.
All right, they're coming in droves. They've also been coming in droves over the past few days to Rick Perry's campaign. He's edging you out in that particular poll right now. What do you think about the emergence of Rick Perry, your fellow Texan, in this campaign so far?
Ask me in 2 weeks. I mean, we don't know. This might be a flash. Who knows what it is? And you know, I don't think it's a surprise. Everybody knew he was coming in. He's governor of a big state, so he will, you know, get some credibility just for that. So there's many have entered this race, you know, over the past year. They come for a few months or so, and then they leave, and they get a lot of publicity.
You think he's in this for just a short time?
No, I'm saying that he may not, in 2 or 3 weeks, people will have asked him a lot more questions,
Yeah.
and his views will be more well known, and then you have to ask about, you know, the significance of his entering. For me, the significance is that he doesn't threaten my campaign, our campaign, because his views are more conventional, they're more status quo, they're more part of the whole system, so he doesn't talk about bringing troops home or any of these things. So
well,
I think that I think he will dilute the other votes in the opposition to our campaign.
You say he's going to be asked a lot of questions, and I want to ask you about this because one question surfaced in the Austin Chronicle. And that question was in the form of an ad that is said to be from a Ron Paul supporter. And the question is, have you ever had sex with Governor Rick Perry? And it goes on to say, are you a stripper, an escort, or just a young hottie impressed by an arrogant, entitled governor of Texas? What's your response? What's your campaign's response to this coming from one of your supporters?
Well, I don't know how something like that qualifies as a question on national TV, as if it's something serious. So I would say that it speaks for itself, and for me to address, I don't know anything about it. This is news to me. For me to address that would give it too much credibility, and I think bringing it up gives it way much more credibility than it deserves. It's rather silly. How can this be a significant issue in a presidential race? So I don't place
So you
much
haven't,
stock in
you
it.
didn't, this ad never came up in your discussions with your campaign. Did you ever ask anybody, you know, well, who is this guy? And he's saying he's my supporter. It never has been discussed among your campaign.
No, insignificant, silly things. We don't waste a whole lot of time on things like that.
What do you make of the sort of back and forth between the Perry folks and the Bush folks in your home state of Texas?
Well, I think that is interesting because their political views are pretty close. So I didn't know a whole lot about that. I don't get into the intrigue of personalities. So I think it has political significance, but I don't know much about that. I didn't know that actually was going on.
Well, so in terms of this ad, and I know you think it's no big deal, but before I let you go, would you encourage this person to stop saying that he's one of your supporters as he run, you know, in the framework of running this ad?
Well, that would invite me to look at hundreds of thousands of people who say and do things and express themselves, that I have to monitor them and check out everything that's on the internet and decide. No, my first impression would be, why pay attention to it? Why give it credibility? So, no, I'm not going to engage myself in that, because I would be worrying about those kind of things, because there's a lot of things going on like that in a lot of campaigns. So I can make comments. I could study that ad and you know, and you know, make a comment on it. But this whole thing doesn't invite me or incite me or encourage me to start analyzing everything everybody ever says on the internet or what they put in a newspaper. That would distract from the message I'm trying to deliver.
All right, I got it. Congressman Ron Paul, thank you very much. Good to see you from New Hampshire this morning. We'll hear a lot more for you as the campaign moves forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.